Hey guys, Nick here with the Whip Shop, and in today's video I want to talk about binding bellies and different methods for doing so. Today specifically we're going to focus on my current method for binding the bellies of nylon whips, and that's using nylon thread. When I started making whips I used electrical tape, and that has its pros and its cons. The pros are it's quick to do, it's easy, and it does the job. The cons to that are if you wax your whip and you bind each belly with electrical tape, the wax isn't going to be able to penetrate past that overlay, getting into the bellies below. When you wax a whip, you want that whole whip to saturate as much wax as possible, and a solid covering of electrical tape across a whole belly is going to prevent that from happening. The other con is over time electrical tape loses its elasticity. Of course that goes the same for nylon thread. But nylon thread loses its springiness it lasts much longer than electrical tape. If you make electrical tape whip, when you first crack it, you're going to be, wow, this thing is fantastic, you know. And over time, if you keep cracking it, that glue will soften up, that glue and the electrical tape will wear out, and ultimately your whip will still crack well, but it won't have that amazing life that it had when you first made it. So in today's video, I'm going to show you guys my current method for binding a nylon bullwhip. So let's get started. Okay guys, we have our whip in the vise, and this is a 6-foot bullwhip, and we're getting ready to work on the second belly here. We're getting ready to bind the second belly of our whip. And this is what we're going to be using, nylon thread. Now I buy my nylon thread unwaxed and wax it myself. If you haven't watched my tutorial on how to wax a nylon whip, check that out. I basically heat this thing up, melt all the wax, get it at about 200 degrees, take my nylon thread, drop it in there for about 2 minutes, take it out, let it dry, and you got wax thread. So that's how I do that. So here's what we're going to do here. Here's the binding process. We're going to start here, and we're going to go around in a series of different patterns. I'll show you that in the next clip here. So we're starting here and we're working our way all the way down to the end of the belly. We're going to go back up and do the same thing, but we're not going to go all the way down. We're going to stop about here, and then here, and then here, and then here. So it's a tapered rigidity, meaning that here it could be 5 times stiff, and down this part is 4 times stiff, 3 times stiff, 2 times stiff. And of course, the thinner the whip gets, the less rigidity you need, because you don't need, it's lighter and you don't need that much rigidity as you would for a heavier portion of the whip. So that's basically what we're going to do, and we're going to do that with every belly. So let's get started. Alrighty, so here's how we're going to do this. I'll start it off by just doing one of these. Doesn't really matter how you get it, just make sure that it's fastened tight at the very beginning. Do a few wraps here. And here's what we're going to do. Here's the first pattern we're going to use, is this spiral pattern here. Like this. Just like that. And we're going to do this pattern all the way down to the end of this belly. Make sure that you're crisscrossing in the back as well, because there's been times where I did this pattern and I looked in the back and it was barely even crossing. So keep an eye out for that. And this is what we're doing, just all the way down to the end of the belly. This pattern here, just like this. So I'll meet you guys at the end of the belly. Okay, so we've reached the end of the belly right here, and to make our way back up, we don't have to do the crisscross pattern. Just do one of these, just a spiral. Like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. All the way back up. And what we're doing now is 2 things in one. We're making our way back up to the top, but at the same time we're reinforcing the pass that we just made, that crisscross pattern. We're actually reinforcing that, and we're holding it down so that hopefully never comes undone. Unless your pet gets a hold of your whip and chews it up. Something like that. So here, really focus. This is the part of your whip. This is the metal. This is where the metal stops, and this is where the thong begins. So you really should concentrate on this. And even on your way back up, go take a little step down and just reinforce that a little bit. That's what I usually do. Because this is the part of the whip that's going to be the most susceptible to, to being floppy. So, all right. So we made our way back to the top nicely, and you see my viewfinder here. Oh. Here's the end of the belly, right here. So now we're going to work our way down, but like I said, we're not going to go all the way to the end. We're going to actually go about 6 inches above, so we'll end right here. And we're doing that crisscross pattern again. Whenever you're moving down, I like to do that crisscross pattern. When you're moving back up, I just do a normal spiral pattern. That's what we're doing here. And this can be a tedious process. But it's what's going to give your whip long-lasting springiness and life. It's going to be able to crack very easily. Alright. So here we are, 6 inches down, 6 inches short of the end of this belly right now. So we're done. We ended it there. Time to go back up to the top again with our normal pattern, or just a normal spiral around the whip. Look closely here. Pay attention to spaces that haven't been covered by the thread already, and try to go over those. Back up to the top. Here we go. Now we're going to end here. The more you do this, the quicker you'll get. When I first started using nylon thread to bind each belly, I would drop this thing literally every 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I'd be dropping my spool on the ground. And just kind of learn to be able to hang on to it the more you do it. So here we're ending here, going back up. Hope you can see that. And here's our final pass. We're going to end right here, just after the transition. Good. And working our way back up to the top. At this point, I am going to take one of these little pieces of thread, make a little loop, put the little loop, you can't even see, sorry. But take a little loop of thread and put it under here. I've showed this in other videos. And this is just a hold to, you can cut off the thread without it coming unwound. Go around about 10 times like this. With your thumb right here, cut this thread, put it through the eye of this thread, pull that, like that. So that's it, guys. That's how I bind the bellies of my whips. I do this with every belly. Depending on the length the length between the beginning of the belly and the end of the belly, that kind of determines how many passes you do. For this I did about 4 or 5, but the final belly before the overlay I can do as many as 8 passes. You know, going 8 or going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and having a, it's all about getting a tapered stiffness to the bellies. So I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. As always, if you're interested in a custom whip, contact me, nickWschrader@gmail.com. Visit my Facebook page, facebook.com/nickswhipshop, and also my website, nickswhipshop.com. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.